So as we look at off-ball defense, I want to start with communication. And one point I want to make also with this is not always about a guy talking, but also about a guy listening and hearing. So kind of watch the weak side here. And if I had the volume up, you could hear Cade yell at Hami. So here comes a cut, and Cade is going to yell at Hami because actually they're switching men here. And Cade's pointing. You can see him talking, telling Hamidou Diallo to get out on Klay Thompson. Hamidou takes a couple false steps into the lane, and that's enough space for Klay Thompson to get that off. So it wasn't about a lack of communication on Cade's part. It was his teammate not hearing him. We're going to see it here again. So as the pass goes to the corner, and whatever the communication needs to be here, but we get two guys running to the corner and then leaving Jordan Clarkson wide open. There has to be better communication there on the rotation, and we'll talk about rotations as we move forward through this as well. Also, just looking at switching in general from the Pistons, I want to kind of show the pros and the cons. So here, the Warriors do a great job. They know they're switching it, and you kind of almost have to switch, and I'll show you why on the next clip with guys like this. But because they know they're switching, Curry ends up just screening his own man. Saddiq Bey has to come in touch to touch. He has to come with Klay Thompson all the way to this screen just in case this happens where Steph Curry doesn't actually screen him. He screens his own man knowing that the switch is coming. But here's what happens whenever you don't switch. They're not going to switch this. So Cade Cunningham has to get way up high on the screen on Klay Thompson. And then Cade does. You got to be better than this. It's not just Cade. A few other clips through this 3-game stretch, I could have shown you guy getting beat backdoor. And I don't think that's just being overly aggressive. It's trying to get over the top of a screen on a shooter. So just a couple areas they can improve and highlighting why they're switching or why I think it's a good idea to switch. Now here you guys have to be more aware. They broke this down during the broadcast, but this is Steph Curry. So right now Beef Stew has to be stepping up. You got two guys on the weak side that can step over if Looney slips this or rolls, but Isaiah Stewart doesn't recognize it, doesn't step up, and that's hard even for Corey Joseph getting all the way through the screen. And then this was the bad one. Okay, I think this is on Corey Joseph. This is Steph Curry. You have to go with him. There's the two other guys here to match up with Poole and the trailer. But Corey Joseph has to go with him. And he's telling Josh Jackson. I do think the Pistons have to get better recognizing and getting through these kind of off-ball screens. Josh Jackson has to get through that, but Corey Joseph has to go with it. You have to have better awareness than to leave the best shooter of all time just running free to the corner. So again, some areas for improvement there. And then right here, you have to know who you're guarding. So Trey Lyles guarding Metu. Here comes the roll guy. Like, Trey Lyles should be tagging the roller here, and maybe it should be the low man. I understand that. That might be the role, but you also have to know who you're guarding, see what's going on, and Trey Lyles is just never aware and able to get involved in that. So I think they can really real areas for improvement, and then Cade has a real bad habit of this, helping off way too far here on the ball screen. He's got Ingles on the weak side, and he just overcommits way too much to give a wide open three from Ingles, gets bailed out. Ingles having to miss that shot. How about some good ones? Okay, so here against the Warriors, I like this rotation by Saben Lee. And it's not just a rotation by Saben Lee. Killian Hayes a little slow, but recognizes too, he's got to get to the corner here. Now, Saben Lee could probably step up a little bit more aggressively here to stop the drive because it ends up in a bucket. And I'd like to see Killian Hayes sprinting here to the corner and recognize it a little bit earlier. But you start to see a little bit of the rotations there as Saben Lee helps on the weak side. And then here, Cade's going to tag the roll guy. Now, I don't know if maybe a little bit more contact here, discouraging this pass, but whatever he does enough to discourage it, but also allows himself to get this closeout. So a nice job there, Cade on the weak side in a really tough spot, tagging the roll guy, and then the ability to get back to his man. And then as we see one more here, as we get back to the lack of rotations, as the low man Trey Lyles does not recognize it here and doesn't get over fast enough and gives up the dunk. So you see, I wanted to highlight a couple nice rotations from the Pistons defense as we transition back into some areas where they could improve. Here, I really like this from Trey Lyles. Recognizes this flare screen. He goes with it. Gets the closeout on Steph Curry. He's probably not going to stay in front of Steph. Cade with the nice rotation. This is the multiple efforts. Saddiq Bey has to recognize this, keep playing, and take away this pass back to the weak side. So some really nice things there as Trey Lyles recognized the flare. Cade helped on the next rotation, but you have to get the one more there. And then here, you have to continue to play also. So again, nice rotation. Cade's going to recognize it as well as he comes. And then right now, Isaiah Stewart has to be coming on this rotation. Saddiq Bey rotating here to the block, and they just don't get those multiple efforts, and they end up giving up a wide open shot again and a bucket to Bogdanović. So you can see there where they could just get a little bit better in some of those rotations.